TV.
Ottawa, everybody. A great show ahead for you today. It's like an all-star lineup for you on the show today. Sandora Alfred Purvis is on the show, a certified landscape designer from just a perspective that we've shared on the show before, but I love having her on each and every time. We're going to talk fall planting on the show today in her first segment, and then the second segment we're going to talk garden beds and a little bit more. Also, Leanne Lacroix, interior stylist and designer, back on the show, and she's going to show you how to do an incredible fall tablescape, right? When you have guests come over and friends come over, you want to impress them. So she's going to show you that just in time for Thanksgiving. But we start off here in the kitchen with David Godso. He is the executive chef over at the 18 Hospitality Group, also the director of food and beverage. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. Great to see you again.
Well, and we have seen each other like
times in between.
This is event madness in the last like month or so.
It is.
You've been at every event. Like let's do like a summer roundup for David Godso, shall we? I mean, you've been involved in so much, Dave.
Yeah, so October we did the Beechwood Cemetery for the Vanier BIA. That was a fantastic,
and perfect weather, like sometimes with that one, right?
It started to rain a little bit.
Oh, did it?
For that one. That one was a bit tricky. That was one that we kitchen was covered, but the table was not so beautiful table. But that was a really fun one. We just did the I was going to say the Feast of Fields, but the Harvest of Feast of Fall with Robin at the OAG. Yeah. September and mid-September. I just picked up a new one with Robin on next Thursday for an autism charity. But the one that I wanted to talk about today was October 17th, Harmony House Gala. It's the 6th or 7th year that I've done this one.
Okay.
So it's a fantastic charity. They're Ottawa's only second stage women's shelter, which means they play a vital role in helping women and children escape. Once they've escaped domestic abuse situations and they're starting to like rebuild their life, that is where they go to the second stage shelter. So we're putting on a huge fundraiser. It's going to be taking place at 18 and Side Door.
Oh, nice.
Really good dynamic event. So really excited about that.
Well, which is great too, because for those that, and I would be shocked if you've never been to either restaurant, but they're right beside each other. So that's the nice thing, right? I guess you have a VIP at 18, and then you move to social is...
Yep, so the event starts upstairs at 18, so we have the VIP portion, selling about 100 tickets for that. Okay. Nice welcoming sparkling wine, some oysters, prawns, some past canapes. I will have a speech with the mayor. I believe there's going to be some live music up there. That'll last about an hour. Okay. And then everyone we'll push everyone downstairs to Side Door, where we'll have the main event with 5 different chef stations. Sam Laprade is going to be there doing some stand-up comedy and some emceeing. Excellent. Live auction, a whole dynamic evening.
Is that the one too? You have a guest chef coming in as well?
Yeah. So our guest chef for the event is going to be Chef Joe from Coconut Lagoon.
Oh, nice.
Another staple in every single charity event that you see throughout the city. Yeah. A good friend of mine. Super excited to have him. And I'm cutting it a bit close with the due date of my my incoming child.
What is the due? 20th?
The 20th. Yeah. So my wife
17th is the event, and your wife is due on the 20th.
Yeah, so I play with fire, but I'm very fortunate at the restaurants. We have a wonderful team of chefs, so it's a great opportunity for me to push the burden onto them and let them showcase their food and what they're doing on a daily basis. So I have Chef John from 18, Chef Mitch from Clarendon, Chef Pete from Social, and Chef Luke at Side Door.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
right.
So that'll be.
Do you guys get together very often, like as sort of a group of chefs?
We try to. I've tried over the years to try to bring in some more of these events into our own barns, so that we can do them. And if we do some of the various charity events that you've seen me at, we try to bring along 1 or 2 of the other restaurants just to kind of keep them involved.
Nice.
Again, it's a really fun evening. So
and I guess what is this? This is a team thing that you guys, as a group, as the 18 Hospitality Group, have decided this is the way you're going to give back to the community, is being involved in all these events. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it really, I've talked about this before. Like a lot of these events, for us as chefs. I mean, I understand from the average person it might look like it's a lot of work. For us, it's not really a ton of work.
Really?
A lot of them we're doing, a lot of these events we do small plates. We're doing, 200, 300, 400 pieces of the same thing. So it's a lot of repetitive motion. Right. So we only, it's a little bit prep heavy. But the one we did the other day with Robin, we were kind of short-staffed. I prepped that one all in the same day. I went in the morning. It took me a few hours to get everything ready, pack up, and then we go and we get to participate and mingle with people like yourself and movers and shakers in the city and raise money for good causes.
I'm just trying to think. Harmony House, is it 38 years now?
38 years.
38 years.
30 years. And they're Ottawa's, like I said, Ottawa's only second stage shelter. So it's they said they really do play a vital role in transitioning women and children into sort of their next phase of their life.
Right.
So the funds raised in the evening are going to be going towards scholarship programs.
Okay.
So a lot of them after that, you think of your average case of domestic abuse, and obviously a woman that's likely been put down, hasn't really had much career opportunity.
Right.
So this is going to go towards funding new career changes, new scholarships for education, different programming that can really help them not just move on, but like thrive once they've gotten it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've got to move to some of the stuff you've got in front of you here. I know we're going to wait to the second segment, but everybody at home is looking and going, what has David brought along here? And you were joking with me. You're like, oh my goodness, my sommelier is probably going to laugh at me when I get back to the restaurant. But you and I had an interesting conversation before the show, even before we get to is that you've got a really unique wine cellar at 18. Tell me a little bit about that. What makes it unique?
So we have, I don't want to give away the numbers, but we have a very expensive collection of wine.
Okay.
And in our almost 25-year career, we've had, some of the city's best sommeliers have cut their teeth within our organization. And because of that, we have a bounty of wine.
Okay.
And one of the things that we're looking at, I'll touch on it in the next segment, we feel that there's a bit of a shift that we need to do within 18. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're an expensive restaurant, but we have a lot of really good offerings, and we want to try to see if we can, have that sort of affordable luxury, maybe in a smaller segment that can bring people in. So that we want to try to attract crowds that are not necessarily just looking for the birthday or anniversary dinner, but have some really interesting offerings, and also get people to try some of these amazing wines that we have that, Alex, our sommelier, is hand selecting, and these are really, these are just a small selection of what I think we have almost 200 labels back at the restaurant. So we have a lot of wine.
Right.
And try to get away from, the big 9-ounce pours and give people for a reasonable price, you can taste 4 really, really beautiful wines.
Yeah, and I think that's special, right? Doing the flight idea, and I imagine most of your wines, these aren't wines you're finding at the LCBO.
Most of them,
right? These are handpicked by, as you said, your sommelier to bring them in to give somebody a unique experience.
Absolutely.
Right? And is it so? You've got all those. So is it then part of the fun is trying to come up with pairings for these wines all the time? I guess, right? Because they're so unique.
It's not so much that they're unique and maybe their expressions. The pairing part is really fun, and it's a really good challenge for the sommeliers because, I've done a lot of food pairing in my life where I make a creative dish and I just go find the wine. Whereas we're kind of taking a different approach right now. We're saying, okay, look, let's start with the wine. Let's start with this amazing selection of wine that we have, and what do you think works with that, right? So for this, for what I have today, like I went to Alex yesterday on his sort of admin day and said, this is what I'm doing.
Okay.
Pick me 4 wines. You tell me what I need to go get.
Really?
And he was, and he came up with, he told me which cheeses to get, which meats to get. And I think in our first pilot project with this, we're going to focus mostly on the meats and cheeses.
Okay.
Because we want the wine to be the star. But we've talked about maybe spinning it off into being able to taste like smaller versions of a la carte items, or even our tasting menu in a smaller, toned down format. So you can come and sit at the bar at 18, have 4 wines and some
4
carefully
small
curated,
bites.
sort of almost tapas style.
All right, you know what? Let's put that on pause. We'll come back and talk specifically about these wines and some of the food we have in front of us. We'll be back with David right after this. Don't go anywhere.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
I'm Sam LaPrade. I hope you join us for an hour to give. It's a wonderful way to learn all about the charities and nonprofits in this community that are changing and saving lives. Look forward to seeing you then.
Kids these days, people say we lack initiative.
And technology, that we're all addicted.
Kids these days, we hear that we only care about ourselves. Apparently, we're lazy.
And don't seem to have any sense of independence.
Actually, kids these days are facing a lot. Because the world has changed, and so have our health issues. Kids these days, we could really use your help. Join CHIO in our biggest fundraising campaign ever to transform pediatric care.
Hi, I'm Paula Roy, and it's my pleasure to welcome you back into my kitchen for another season of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. My approach to food is pretty straightforward. Fancy is fine, but when you're in a time crunch or have a really hungry and patient family to feed, I say simple recipes made with wholesome ingredients that you probably have on hand are the best. And that's exactly what you'll find on Paula Roy's Favorite Foods on Rogers TV.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Learn all about the creation of the National Capital Region on The History of Ottawa, according to Phil Jenkins, on Rogers TV.
Welcome back. We are back with David Godso, the executive chef over there at the 18 Hospitality Group, also the director of food and beverage, and his sommelier is really putting him to the test today. So let's just remind people. So the idea was you went to Alex and you said, hey, I'm coming on the show. I want to talk about our wines. So, and then Alex did, how did the two of you work together?
So basically he sent me a message. He's like, let me think, like, talked with me yesterday. He's like, let me think about it. We'll get something together for you. Sent me a message early this morning, said, you know, this is the ones I'm going to do. This is what I want you to go. This will be your best pairings for it. Okay. And like you're saying earlier, like we're looking at doing this from kind of a different perspective. We're doing it more from the wine perspective than we are from the food perspective. Right. If you want, I'll kind of
walk us through here.
So, when you're doing any sort of pairing. You need to have a little bit of balance and everything. You need to have some sort of acid. So on top of these sort of cheeses that we have, I'm add like a little bit of. I'm just going to dress up the plate a little bit, like we will do back at the restaurant, right? With a little bit of pickles. So you want to be able to refresh your palate, and then really, so that you can sort of take a break in between. Screw these. These suck. I
love chefs. This is probably what it's like in the kitchen. Like there's David and the boys. Like they've got like a restaurant full of people, and then they just go, screw this. Yeah. All right, everyone get their hands washed and let's rock and roll.
Like I said before, I think I got Blackie in my ear right now telling me like, what are you doing, chef? What's with the tweezers, chef?
That's fun. Actually, the same day I'll be at Blackie's place doing that you're doing the autism organization's fundraiser. I'll be doing one over there at Next as well. All right, so you've added little
we made it look a little bit prettier. So we're going to go the way that we want to do any sort of wine pairing is you want to sort of start on the light end and then gradually build your way up. Right. So our first pairing that we have going on today is a Sauvignon Blanc. Okay. This one is from northern Italy. It's very similar to New Zealand styles, but a little less herbaceous. Okay. So this one we're pairing with a Cendrillon cheese, which is a goat cheese that is ash rinded. So that's a very classical pairing, goat cheese, Sauvignon Blanc. That'll be sort of pairing number one. Okay. Pairing number two, this is the one that I think Alex threw in just to mess with me. It's called Schiava.
Schiava? I've never even heard of that before.
Honest, me neither until this morning.
Okay, good. I'm not alone.
But it's very similar to a Beaujolais, very fruity, very fruit forward. But it goes very well paired with cured meats. So for this one, we've done a mortadella. Nice. Going to there. So that'll our second pairing. Our third pairing, very classic pairing, Pinot Noir and duck. So this is the Centerstone Pinot Noir from Oregon. This one's going to be paired with a duck rillette with a bit of dark cherry gel. Nice. And then, so as you said, we're sort of moving our way up, and it's a little bit. I mean, most of the time you'd probably see like 2 whites, 2 reds. This is a bit of a different pairing. We're doing 3 reds. Like I said, this Beaujolais style is quite light. Right. To finish it out, we're going old stinky cheese. Nice. And big California cab. Okay. So we have a 7-year-old cheddar here, going with this beautiful juicy Sylvia Sellers Northeast Coast Cabernet Sauvignon. So big juicy Cabernet Sauvignon going with that sharp cheese. So you want to have that sort of heavy pairing. Nice. And like I said, at the restaurant, what we have quite a few WSET trained sommeliers on our staff.
Oh, really?
We'll do a much better job of explaining the wines than I will.
I was going to say, one day you should bring Alex with you.
Oh, I will.
Hey, wouldn't that be fun? Because I'd love to pick his brain. I love when, because listen, I'm not a wine connoisseur by any stretch of the imagination. I like what I like, but I love hearing people talk about it.
Oh, when they, right? I've been very fortunate to work with some fantastic sommeliers over the year, and they have some of the best adjectives to describe wine, like licking. This Bordeaux is like licking a barn floor, or things like that, which I love. So,
I've had some whiskey people come on. This is like a stinky dog or something. Like, way to sell that to me. Yeah.
And what I find the funny part about it is most people are sitting there like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, you're right. I get the stinky dog. It's really nice.
This is fun.
Let's move on because as the seasons change, so do menus at all the restaurants, and you guys are changing things up at all the restaurants, right?
Yeah. So we're in the works of, this is part of it, or 18. This is part of revamping our kind of bar menu. Offerings, so people at least having more approachable items that people can come in, think about coming to 18 just after work to sit at the bar, have some wines, have some cheese.
And then there's a wine club.
Yeah, so another thing that we're rolling out at 18, we're just sort of getting the wheels rolling. I was talking to you just off air about Rob Elvey, a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He's one of many wine suppliers that we deal with that are very passionate, knowledgeable people. So we want to lean a bit on them and lean a bit on our collection and find a way to sort of get some like-minded individuals as part of a group with 18. So some of the things we're looking to run with them is they're going to have exclusive early access to any wine dinners that we may be putting on.
Okay.
We're going to do a quarterly newsletter inviting some of the best winemakers in the world to provide testimonials and give them kind of a breakdown on some of the cool products that we have. I was meeting with Rob a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about this Amarone where they only do like 9,000 bottles a year.
Really?
And like Ontario's only going to be getting like 12 cases, and that's it. And we're like, we'll take some of those. So really cool stories like that, really unique products that like not going to find this in the LCBO.
Right.
But we'll be able to provide some insight and education. And then also as part of that club, we're going to run some special features so that if you come in and you want to have this kind of spread, if you're part of that club, you're going to have some perks and rewards and a little bit of discount.
Nice. I've got about a minute left, Dave. So let's go over Clarendon. You've got you're rolling out calzones. Is that right?
Yeah. So Chef Mitch, we were working on some new menu items there. One of the things I'm really excited about that we're looking to put on the menu is a calzone. He made it for me the other day.
Okay.
It's fantastic. Side door, we just rolled out a new menu. Kind of a new feature on there is the bao buns have made a bit of a return. So we're doing pork belly and crispy chicken. Those ones are fantastic. And then over at Social, we're doing another revamp of that menu as well. And one dish that I'm really excited about is sort of a scampi style squid on toast. So it's instead of your crispy deep fried greasy one, this is more Mediterranean style, tomatoes, olives, on a nice
fresh,
piece. Super fresh, super bright flavors. And then we're partnering with Nat's Bread for our bread for that dish.
Excellent.
So it'll be really, really good, exciting menu.
Yeah, we had Nat's Bread on just, I think it was about 4 months ago. And again, one of these introductions that I'd never heard of Nat's Bread before. But then I find out all these great restaurants like yourself have been using her bread for quite some time. It's amazing, right?
We're excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if you want to get tickets, they will sell out. Dave just posted on social media recently about it, and they will absolutely sell out. HarmonyHouseWS.com, October 17th. Side door and 18. It's going to be a spectacular evening. Of course, all the funds raised going to Harmony House. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No. Could I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. Smoking weed affects reaction time and concentration. A message from Mad Canada.
Welcome to Community News and Events. I'm your host, Candace Knights. As summer comes to a close, Ottawa Tourism releases its 2024 Economic Impact Study, highlighting the city's tourism industry post-pandemic. The study reveals that Ottawa attracts 9.8 million visitors annually, generating $2.6 billion in spending. The visitor economy supports over 35,000 jobs and contributes nearly $2,000 in government services per household. From Victoria Day to Labor Day, hotel demand increased by 4% compared to last year, showing positive momentum towards surpassing pre-pandemic levels. New air routes by Air Canada and Porter Airlines, as well as return to office mandates, have boosted tourism. The summer also introduced 2 new visitor attraction passes, one geared towards family experiences and the other focused on museums. Those passes are available at visitottawapasses.ca.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Get front row seats to Music and Beyond's unforgettable summer festival. Experience world-class concerts, mesmerizing performances, and much more. Music and Beyond presents a new season on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to the show. We were going to kick off this next segment talking about something completely different, but my guest said, you know what? A lot of people are asking me about fall planting, so let's do that. And then later on, perhaps in about 3 or 4 weeks, she will come back on the show and we will talk actually about ecological garden care in the fall. I'm joined by Sandora Alford Purvis. She is a certified landscape designer, owner of A Cultivated Art. Welcome back. Great to have you here. So yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. People keep reaching out to you. I guess for a lot of us, we're thinking, oh, now it's time to kind of clear our gardens out, not plant. Is it common for people to start planting in the fall, something?
It's not uncommon.
Okay.
And so people are kind of going, is it okay
Yeah.
to plant? Because they're like, I have time right now, or I have a gap in my gardening, can I put plants in? And I've been sort of going, okay, yes, absolutely. From the plant standpoint, cool weather is awesome for getting established. The soil's wetter this time of year. They're not getting as much heat stress. So it's a great time of year for transplanting. If you've got perennials to dig up and move, go for it. Perfect time of year. They're sort of already settling down. It's not going to stress them the way it would if you were moving them in June. And we don't have hot weather until next summer. So they've got a nice cool fall to get settled into their new spots, and then a nice cool spring to get settled into their new spots before the heat of the summer. For new plants, it's a little bit different. You want, by new plants, I mean anything coming out of a pot and going into the ground. And it's actually not about how the plants grow, it's a physics thing. As the soil freezes, the soil around your newly planted plant, as it freezes and compresses or expands, it can actually sometimes push your new plant up out of the ground. And it's called frost heave. And this will,
I've heard of that, yeah.
And this will even happen with, like, if you ever see a marsh and there's like these tufts of grasses sticking up, or a field that floods seasonally, and like there's these tufts. So it isn't just newly planted plants, but in really wet areas, they'll actually even push plants up out of the ground. So you want to minimize the amount of freezing and thawing around your new plants. And so it's not about keeping them from freezing, it's actually to cut down on the thawing. So what I tend to suggest is plant your new plants. I tend to stay up until the middle of October when I'm advising other people, but that's usually when I get around to starting my own gardening. So I have planted into December in some warm years. And the plants are generally fine as long as they don't get heaved out of the ground with the freezing and thawing. So what I usually do is I wait until the ground starts to freeze around the new plants, and then I dump either a good thick layer of leaves or some wood chips on top. And what that does is it helps keep the ground frozen, and the plants just stay put, and then come spring, I just
Then you don't get that heaving from the... I wanted to ask you, you mentioned temperatures. I mean, it's been an unusually hot September. Does that change anything as far as our gardening goes when this occurs?
You can treat the garden by the weather and less by the calendar. So if you've still got plants out there growing and blooming, we haven't had a frost yet. So leave the garden be. What is happening sort of in time with the calendar as much as the season is actually the seed maturity of the plants. So if you happen to gather seeds for the Wildflower Seed Library here in Ottawa, they gather and they accept donations of wildflower seeds, native plant seeds. And this is the time of year where volunteers all over the city with gardens or access to natural areas are gathering incredible quantities of seeds, and and either packaging themselves or donating them to the library, and they have other volunteers that do packaging.
Yeah, and there's a couple of events, we'll mention those in just a moment, but when it comes to that, like at these libraries, is it just people come and you get them for free?
Yeah.
Is that the idea? It's like a swap?
Yep, so what it is they have, they all through the fall, they're accepting donations. You can just check with them and they'll say who you can drop them off with.
Okay.
And so they're just taking them all the time. They have a couple of volunteer packaging events where people just bring all the seeds they've got to package. They've got envelopes there and everybody's packing all these envelopes. And then come November, they start having the giveaways. So you don't have to have any pre-existing relationship with the Wildflower Seed Library. You can just show up and you can leave with packets and packets of native plant seeds for free.
I'm looking at some of my guests, and they're like, yes, this is a great idea. Yeah. Fall planting, so some people I imagine too think fall planting, are there perhaps, like, you see the mums being sold around fall. Are there plants that we can plant in the fall that will actually stay bloomed and into maybe late November, early December? Is this all about setting up for next spring?
So I'm big on setting up for next spring. If you are going to be planting some of those pretty flowering pots of plants that they have at the stores right now, the asters are much better for supporting the pollinators than the mums are.
Okay. Why is that?
So the asters are actually from North American species.
Gotcha.
So they're cultivars, so they've usually been bred to be dwarf, although sometimes that's also the pruning, and they actually treat them with a plant hormone while they're growing to keep them compact like that. So the one you put in your garden that's this tall this fall may be like 4 times that height next spring. So so next year,
keep that in mind.
Yeah, they may not be the same next year if you plant the asters. The mums, most of them won't be there next year. And the problem with the mums is not only are they not native to this continent, so they're not a food source, not an ideal food source.
Right.
Most of them are double. So all of the middle part of the flower that normally would have pollen and nectar, with double flowers, it's petals. So there's no pollen or nectar. They're just petals. So they look pretty to us.
Yeah.
But they don't have anything for pollinators.
They're not attractive to anything, pretty much, right?
And the other thing is, it's actually kind of fooling because some bees will see the petals, which are there to attract visual attention from the bees.
Right.
And they'll come over and there's nothing to eat there. So it's actually a waste of energy.
So we're distracting them, from getting to the native plants that they actually need.
Yes.
You're here for another segment. Coming up after the break, we'll talk about what you've brought here, right? What are we going to focus on after the break?
So there's planting your existing, if you have an existing garden space, popping some things into the ground this time of year is okay. But if you want to make a new garden, a lot of the ways that we tend to make new gardens involve buying soil and making a new garden with that, and also often cutting out a lot of turf and taking it away. That's a lot of transport, but also that new soil we're buying, we don't make soil, we take it out of other ecosystems.
Right.
Especially a lot around here, if you buy garden soil, it's mostly going to be black earth. Black earth is what's under peat moss and peat bogs. So a lot of people are hearing we shouldn't be using peat moss. Black earth is peat moss.
Hold that thought. We'll be back to talk more about that and to talk about what we have here on the table. We'll be back with Sandora right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Kids these days, people say we lack initiative.
And technology, that we're all addicted.
Kids these days, we hear that we only care about ourselves. Apparently, we're lazy.
And don't seem to have any sense of independence.
Actually, kids these days are facing a lot. Because the world has changed, and so have our health issues. Kids these days, we could really use your help. Join CHIO in our biggest fundraising campaign ever to transform pediatric care.
This week on Canada Files, former Supreme Court Justice Rosalie Abella, who was born in a refugee camp after the Second World War and made a remarkable journey to the highest court in Canada.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Bless you.
WHL on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Sam LaPrade, host of Ottawa Business Matters. We're going to gather here every single week and speak about business here in the capital. We're going to inspire, influence, and inform.
Welcome back to the show. I almost feel bad for Sandora because I just keep talking during the breaks and continuing to ask her questions. So she's going to have to repeat herself for all of our viewers at home. Because I was saying to you, I looked at this and I said, oh, is this an example of some of those grasses that you were describing, you know, when you see them in certain areas and they're popping up, right, because of that thaw that's happening? You said no. And I know you're not a big fan of grass, so I was surprised to see grass here on the show today.
So, grass does do some useful things. Grass is actually more resistant to being walked on than just about any other species. So in areas we're actively walking on it, I would rather have grass than pavement.
Right.
But what I brought this in for is when you're going to make a new garden space in an area that is either existing turf, so your lawn, or I've used this in areas that are basically like hay fields, like really strong. They're full of really big, vigorous perennials that are not inclined to go away just because you decided you wanted to plant something there. So, but I also don't like to throw away any organic matter, and part of that comes from one of the places I garden has very little soil, so I'm not giving any of my organic matter away. So what I start with is, if you're going to start a new bed, you don't have to dig up the whole thing, but I always recommend dig an edge. So just go around, do 2 cuts with the shovel. If you're going to be cutting a new bed, sharpen your shovel, a tool file, put an edge on that blade. So much easier.
That is great advice. I never thought of that.
Sharpen your shovel, do 2 cuts, you know, anywhere from 8 to 12 inches apart, and take out that one strip of turf. And I chuck it right into what's going to be the new garden area. So I'm not even throwing that away. But what that does is it severs the existing mass of grass roots or whatever roots that you're in from the area, between the area you're trying to change to a new ecosystem and the existing one. So the existing one doesn't keep feeding the plants you're about to cover. And then if you're just doing turf, you can sometimes skip this step because turf dies fairly easily, as many people have tried to maintain perfect lawns. But if you're doing a real mixed thing, or you just have a lot of really tough grasses, I tend to then, if you think of this as the remaining edge, I will cover the space with cardboard, and you want to make sure that it wraps over the edge of, so there's no light getting to those plants. And then you can either, underneath that, if you have leaves, if you're doing this after the leaves fall, I would generally actually dump all the leaves I could on top of the whatever was there, because they're great for starting the composting and adding organic matter. Gets lots of critters in there doing the composting for you. And then on top of the cardboard, I cover it with wood chips, and these are the ones that arborists give away because when they trim trees, and arborist wood chips are definitely my pick because they tend to have a lot more biological diversity going on. They've got sapwood, they've got heartwood, they often have foliage, so they're better at sort of providing a decomposition layer, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to smother the existing grasses and block their light, and then get some good soil biology going on. And when you're doing this, you definitely want to make sure your cardboard is damp. So usually if I'm planning a project, I'll start collecting cardboard and I'll leave it out in the rain. And the great thing about leaving it out in the rain is if it's got any tape on it, the tape just comes off so easily. So leave your cardboard out in the rain. If you haven't gotten any rain, do wet your cardboard down first to make sure it actually starts to decompose.
I mean, most people use, go and find the pretty chips, right? And I'm guessing the pretty chips aren't really adding anything except an aesthetic to your garden?
They're mostly an aesthetic, and so they're usually not a diversity of materials. They usually don't compost as well because it's one material, and it's actually one that's usually been super dried, especially if it's been dyed. They have to really dry them to then get them to take up the dye. So I'm a big fan of the free arborist chips. You can sign up for Chip Drop. It's a website you can go on and say, I want a load of chips. They are often big loads, so you might want to organize with a couple of neighbors if you're going to get a load of chips.
Yeah.
But these are all free things. Cardboard, leaves, wood chips. And they're things we tend to throw away in urban areas.
Absolutely.
So you can pile this on. But, and I want to make sure we get this in before the end, the first year, especially if you're dealing with a really dense existing ecosystem, I don't plant it out with perennials. I plant annuals because I will go through and I will go and just punch holes in whatever state of decomposition the cardboard is in the spring, and then I'll plant it with pollinator-friendly annuals or vegetables. So cosmos, zinnias, sunflowers, the pollinators love these. These aren't locally native, but they're from this continent, and the pollinators just love them.
So outside of it being beneficial for the pollinators, is it obviously it's beneficial to the garden?
It is, because those annuals will help keep the whole area covered well. They'll compete with any bits of regrowth of the existing perennial layer that's trying to pop up through.
Right.
And it'll just help get through that sort of first stage of decomposition and the soil health building up. And then come fall, you just can cut them off, and then you'll go through and remove any bits of the old perennial ecosystem that has popped up, and then you can go through and you can plant your whole new perennial garden without having lost any organic matter, without having to have moved around a lot of heavy
Without even
soil.
visiting the garden center. Like, this is what just blows my mind with a lot of the things, like everything that we've talked about. Okay, quickly, the Ottawa Wildflower Seed Library seed packing events. There's 2 coming up, right?
Yeah, there are. And so those are volunteer ones. You can come, you can bring seeds if you have them, but you can also just show up and help with the packing. And then that'll get them all set up for the giveaway events that they'll start in November.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I've been on your website and you've got great videos. Like, do you have these?
Actually, yes. There's a video on. It's called Ecological Garden Making, and it takes you through the whole steps. There's a short one that says it's just how to do it, and then there's a longer one that explains all the ecological reasons why.
Oh, I love that. Or you can just watch this particular episode of Daytime over and over again, right? And don't forget, by the way, all of our episodes end up on the Rogers TV YouTube channel, so you can go there and check it out. I'll just give the date. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you. And Sandora will be back on the show, don't worry, in a few weeks. The one is at the Bethel Fieldhouse, October 19th. That is 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the other is at the Fletcher Wildlife Garden, October the 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. And you can find out all the information at wildflowersseedlibrary.ca/events. We'll be back talking fall decor right after this. Don't go anywhere.
This is a perfectly healthy child. What's unhealthy are birth alerts, a racist practice that may stop this Indigenous mother from going home with her newborn. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
Welcome to Community News and Events on Rogers TV. I'm Brianna McMahon. The Ottawa Public Library Alta Vista branch now holds the Crafternoon sessions. These 60-minute sessions will run on Fridays at 4 p.m. It began on September 20th and will continue until December 13th, providing a regular riveting activity. Spend the afternoon immersed in creating arts and crafts. Join in on a drop-in session on a bilingual, family-friendly session. The Ottawa Public Library 1705 Orleans branch now holds the Adult Crafternoon sessions. These 60-minute sessions held in English will occur every Friday at 2:30 p.m. from September 20th to December 13th. You will spend the afternoon creating crafts in the library. The library will create a new craft each month. Watch Sam LaPrasse and Hour to Give every Saturday at 7 a.m. on Rogers TV 22.
Are you a content creator looking to expand your audience and make your voice heard in your community? Rogers TV wants to provide you with a platform to share your hobbies, interests, and stories for free. Visit us to find out more.
Join me, holistic chef Daniela Croco, for season 4 of Simply Cooking by Chef right here on Rogers TV.
welcome back to the show. Well, it's been an absolutely beautiful fall so far, beautiful temperatures. But as we get into the cooler temperatures, you know, things start changing, of course, outside. But that means we want to start changing things inside and bringing some new color and some new decor. There's no one better to talk to than my next guest. Leanne Lacroix, interior designer and decorator and stylist extraordinaire, joins us on the show. I guess, you know, I ask this all the time, but do you have a favorite season that you go from one to the other?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
I'm really starting to enjoy fall. So it used to be summer. Spring was just got too hot too fast. But now I just can't tolerate the heat like I used to. And I find in Ottawa we tend to spend a lot of time inside because it gets so humid. And I don't know if it has to do with age. I don't know what it has to do with anything. But I like to wear a sweater and not sweat.
Nice. Yeah.
I like to put a jacket on. The leaves are changing. It's crisp. Like today is perfect. It's sunny.
Oh, it's a perfect day.
It's crisp out. The trees, the leaves are changing. So I really have to think it's more fall and spring. Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about not just necessarily home decor, but we're talking something very specific, and that is your dining table.
Yes.
And that is sort of one of those things that I think a lot of us forget about. We add things all over the place and cushions and outside and mums at, you know, the front door. And then we may put a candle, you know, as a centerpiece, but you're going to show more of a wow factor, how, you know, people are going to walk in and go, oh my goodness, look at this place.
Because it doesn't take a lot. I mean, you can really change the feel of your home and make it feel like autumn by putting the wreath on your door and a doormat. I mean, that's what we traditionally do. But I feel like as people are becoming more edified with decor, they are now putting it throughout their house.
Right.
And I don't think it necessarily has to be overdone. You can add a few little pieces of what we have here, but if this was throughout a house, you would really get the vibe of autumn.
Yeah.
You know, you would then translate that into Thanksgiving. I really am someone that, as a person who's in design, I like to have a scenario that translates into another season easily. So with these things, these pieces that are here, you can easily take out, like even if we're looking at the bowl here.
Yeah.
If you at Christmas time took out the gourds and you left the pears and the pine cones and the acorns and just maybe added a few Christmas balls or maybe a couple of bells, you again are not removing everything to pack everything away, to bring something new in. You're just adding to it.
Right.
And these are natural
elements. And we have to take into consideration, too, not everybody lives in, you know, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, and they have storage in the basement. You know, a lot of people are living in smaller spaces these days. And then this makes it a little bit easier, right, to, okay, I've got my Christmas stuff, and I can just switch it out, right?
Totally, 100%. And I deal with that a lot with clients because they have these big homes, they're downsizing, they're moving in condos, and they're so frustrated because they bring all of these decorations because either they're Christmas lovers or a Halloween lover, and then they try to decorate in the same style, and it's just not going to happen.
You sent us some beautiful pictures. Can we go back to the first one? I just want to talk about each one because they, each one is very unique. So this is, you know, something again fairly simple.
It's very simple, but it really still reads Christmas, right? So this works really well for Thanksgiving, but you can transfer this when Christmas comes, use the same elements, maybe add some more greenery, take away the pumpkins, but it reads Christmas. So that is something that you can keep in a little box, and that's one of my rules is when you're trying to do your organization and storage. For holidays, get a clear container, have it, like I have them here, they're like 2 by 2 almost, and whatever can fit in it, that's what you can store.
What you do. Okay.
So this again, this reads Christmas.
Is so cute.
It looks beautiful for Thanksgiving dinner, but if you just added a little bit of faux snow with the same candles, and then you maybe put little fairy lights or something, boom, it's Christmas. Even maybe some dried cranberries. So this one again, it's pine cones. It looks very festive. There's some leaves in it. But if you can imagine taking those out and adding sprigs of, you know, greenery, the fresh greenery at Christmas.
Yeah. Even some of those, you know, the red berries, right? And that kind of thing. Just to add a little bit more color to get some of those common sort of Christmas colors in there.
The feel, your mind reads Christmas with just adding some fresh, you get a fresh bundle and it goes so far in your home. You know, this is just a really pretty table setting, natural elements, linen, dried oranges. You know, in fall right now we could be doing the apples, and this works very well right now for your Thanksgiving table, but it would work really, really great again at Christmas. You just have to have different people. Have people
Different guests over. Yeah.
They won't be looking at it, but it will.
And many of us do, right?
Yeah,
Many
of
of us
course.
certainly
But
do.
it would look completely different because you'd have other elements that read Christmas, right? So your mind is not thinking, oh, this is Thanksgiving. It's like, oh, this is so simple and pretty, but you feel the vibe of Christmas.
Absolutely. I want to get to these mushrooms because this is so wonderful. So before the show, Leanne and I are talking because we always start chatting right away, and she tells me that, oh my goodness, my son is watching me create these yesterday, was it last night? And he goes, oh my goodness, these are incredible, Mom. And to hear that from your child, you know you're onto something, right?
Well,
tell me what you've done here.
So these are just, I just think they're just so adorable. But you take your orange, slice it in half, dig them out.
Okay.
I have a dehydrator, so I dehydrated them.
Okay.
But you don't have to paint them. That's the orange. You can put them in the oven at your lowest temperature, like 175, and leave them there for a few hours, and just keep checking them and rotating them.
Okay.
And then they'll dry. They're hard. And then you just take whatever you stem. You could use a stick if you wanted to.
Right.
This is just air clay, the clay that dries.
Yeah.
So,
you know what I thought it was at first? A stem from a pumpkin.
Well,
right,
there
you
you
could
go.
break it off and.
Well, I just twisted it. I
that's
just
a great
made it look
idea.
a little, wonky, and then I painted it over, and then I just put some black on it to just so it resembled a little bit more of a mushroom. And then I just took a little, it was almost like a little end of a pencil,
dabber.
anything.
Right.
And you can have the kids doing this. I mean, they would just be so overjoyed because they turn out so well. And then I just glued them on. I put a little acorn. This could be just a little place setting, with someone's name, or you could elongate it on your table for Thanksgiving, even right now for just autumn. And this is another one, and I'll bring it back at Christmas because mushrooms are so popular for Christmas. So
really?
this is this is something we can translate into a Christmas theme, and again, just adding some more, like maybe some fresh greenery.
Right, and I think you're right too. You could just leave this throughout the entire fall season, and then, as you said, bring in some of that Christmas elements. We are back with Leanne for another segment, so don't worry. I know you're like, Derek, there's all this stuff over here we haven't talked about. We'll be back with Leanne to talk about just that right after this.
Kids these days, people say we lack initiative.
And technology, that we're all addicted.
Kids these days, we hear that we only care about ourselves. Apparently, we're lazy.
And don't seem to have any sense of independence.
Actually, kids these days are facing a lot.
Because the world has changed, and so have our health issues. Kids these days, we could really use your help. Join CHIO in our biggest fundraising campaign ever to transform pediatric care.
I'm Sam LaPrade. I hope you join us for an hour to give. It's a wonderful way to learn all about the charities and nonprofits in this community that are changing and saving lives. Look forward to seeing you then.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
When I was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, I was deteriorating in front of everybody.
All my life I lived with sickle cell. I went through a tragic crisis that put me in a coma for 3 weeks. While I was in there, I received a lot of blood to put me in a healthier state.
I was given the plasma then through IVIG. Even though that happened so long ago, it still has a massive impact on me today.
Thanks to donors, I can live another life.
Because of you, I will be seeing my grandchild.
Learn all about the creation of the National Capital Region on The History of Ottawa, according to Phil Jenkins, on Rogers TV.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Welcome back. I know you're inspired, so we're going to jump right back in with Leanne Lacroix here from Leanne Lacroix and Associates and talk about some of the, because I said, we've got all this stuff over here that we want to talk about. Again, very simple ideas that you've brought along here. So let's talk about what you've got over here.
Well, if you're, there's lots of people, this may be their first Thanksgiving that they're hosting, and they're stressed out, and you don't have to be stressed out. It's really simple. These are simple things that will make your table look beautiful.
Right.
So as long as you always just have a white napkin. Like, just go out and get white napkins. And then if you've become a linen lover, buy them in all different colors.
And if you go to the thrift store, by the way, you can find linen like for nothing, napkins, right?
So many.
Yeah.
I have purple, I have green, there's just so many. But to start out, white is going to be your most classic. It's going to show very well. It's going to elevate your table. But this is just a few little pieces of wheat tied with, you could do raffia or a little bit of, twine.
Yeah.
A pear on a plate.
Yeah.
This is some savory. So that is very conducive to, stuffing when you're making your turkey.
Yeah.
And that's just wrapped. You can go in your garden and well, here's a leaf. So I took a leaf, and do you remember when we were kids and we used to put it between wax paper?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have any, so I used parchment paper. It kind of burnt it.
Still works.
But it made it flat.
Yeah.
And then you just take a Sharpie and you write the friend's or family's name, and then I just put some little acorns, and that's a really nice little nameplate.
So cute.
And then I found these little sliced woods, pieces of wood.
Right.
And there's stickers now.
Oh,
There's
that's
so
what
many
they
great
are.
stickers.
Okay.
So
I saw that. Oh, yeah, and you've got little sayings on them, right?
Yeah, there's pretty little sayings.
Never forget this moment on this one. Oh,
so
really cute.
It's pretty, so you could, put them on each place setting. That would just sort of jazz it up a little. It's just like that one, that we just spoke about. These are for kids. Now, I feel like the table is always set for adults, and then the children have that little table.
Yeah, with nothing.
Yeah, and it's like, and then you wonder why they have like trauma throughout their life. They always refer to that kid table, know?
Exactly. So have fun with the kid table.
Exactly. So I went and got these little shipping tags, and there are so many great stickers out there now. So why not put some stickers on a table, get some nice little tags, and let them make their own little.
Great idea.
So they're sitting there. They can choose where they want to sit.
Keeps them a little occupied
exactly.
too, right?
Yeah. And then they can maybe even make something. Maybe, they could put together a little something for the table. And,
for sure.
And then they can have their own space and feel like they're part of something
cool. You are a
cool.
genius. I love that idea. And let's talk. Look at this over here, what you brought along. And this is sort of kind of bringing it to another level, right?
Well, it's just whimsy, and these branches were just dead branches, and I just stuck them in a vase, and then I had a garland, and you can just take the silk garlands, the leaves. I mean, they're just so well done, and I just glued them. I would have glued more, but you can just glue them. So if you have maybe a large table in your entry hall or even on your dining room table, and you just want something that's over the top and large
and whimsical and fun, right?
And you don't want a lot of things.
So that's something like at Michael's you would get, like these sort of. No, I mean these leaves here.
Well, this you can go anywhere.
Okay,
anywhere. Any. I mean, from drugstores to grocery stores to all the discount stores. Everybody has this type of thing, and you can just use it as a garland. This could be actually just on your dining room table.
I was going to say,
here.
that's this beautiful little vignette that you've created, and just throw that on the dining room table. You did send some other pictures, so let's look at some other pictures that you brought along here. Oh my gosh, this is gorgeous.
So this is just typically Thanksgiving, right? Like, I mean, it is just screams a beautiful dinner, and there's nothing that you're going to change about that to transfer that into Christmas. It's just like going full.
We're all in on Thanksgiving here.
And I mean, wouldn't you want to be sitting at that table? See, this again, I just see Christmas.
This is Christmas to me. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you take out those pumpkins and you put maybe some red berries, like you said, or a little poinsettia plants, and that you could be reusing everything that you have on that table for Christmas. So easy to, November 1st, whatever your date is that you change from, your autumn to your Christmas, pop a few things out, pop a few things in, and you're done. Again, the same thing. It looks beautiful on a Thanksgiving table, but you have the natural elements that is very, very much
another orange
on
there.
trend.
Again, like the orange thing to me, I don't know what it is about it. It's so simple, but it's so beautiful,
it's so beautiful. And then again here, that's just taking different levels, old like candle holders that you already have, and putting your pumpkins on different elevations, mixed in with your, you don't always have to use a wax candle, burning candle. There's so many battery operated
there's the fake candles that look real now, and it's amazing what they've done.
And this is just simple. Like again, it's just a whole lot of one thing, which are all the little gourds and pumpkins, chargers. Also, I just wanted to mention that if you want to elevate your table, just that one thing is a charger. It can change the feel of a table so much when you add something underneath your. These I've been making for years. Okay, it is so simple. It's a rosemary sprig, and you bend it, put a little wire, and you put a name. And everyone always loves them. You can put your napkin through it. You can just lay it on.
You mentioned chargers,
Yeah.
and they come in all different colors, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go from red and for Christmas or something even plain that you can use no matter what season,
and
right?
So affordable. I mean, here's a gold one, but I mean, you look like it just changes the vibe and the feel. This becomes so much more casual. This becomes so much more sophisticated and elegant. So, and that's why the white napkin just works with everything.
Yeah. And again, just like you mentioned, these fake leaves here, these you can find everywhere. Yeah, at the grocery store, and then you can wait. By the way, and I know sometimes you look at them, you go, oh, I don't want to spend $12 per. Well, guess what? In about a month or two, they're going to go down to $1.99, and off you go. Right?
I bought these last season, and I think I paid. I seriously, I'm getting $3.99, but they were I think like $40 or something. But it's when things are clearing out, you just have to be a little patient because you can't use it till the next season. But it's worth it to save.
You know what? We're going to wrap up with you. I usually wrap up on my own. We'll be back with Leanne to wrap up the rest of the show. I'll remind you, too, about that Harmony House event that's coming up to wrap up, but we'll be back with Leanne right after this.
Get front row seats to Music and Beyond's unforgettable summer festival. Experience world-class concerts, mesmerizing performances, and much more. Music and Beyond presents a new season on Rogers TV.
This week on Canada Files, former Supreme Court Justice Rosalie Abella, who was born in a refugee camp after the Second World War and made a remarkable journey to the highest court in Canada.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
The OHL on Rogers TV.
Hey, welcome back to the show. We are wrapping up the show not only with Leanne, but a special guest. My beautiful Maltese Alfie is going to wrap up the show with us. But you just brought this out. I wanted you to just show that off, because again, this is something that was $60 or $70. You wait till the end of the season, and pow, you're ready to go.
I think I bought like 5 of them. I gave them to my family members, and it was because they were so beautiful. But I didn't want to pay that. I didn't want to pay $70. But when they came down to what they came down to, which was I think about $5. With taxes in.
So again, you can prepare for the next season with things like that. Quickly, opening doors to a brighter future. That is the great fundraising event that's coming up at 18 and Side Door on October the 17th. All the proceeds, part of the proceeds going to Harmony House. You can get your tickets at harmonyhousews.com. You'll be back soon, right? You're going to come back. You're going to come back for Halloween. And we're going to do all this sort of thing all over again. If you have a show idea, please reach out to me on social media. You just have to reach out on Facebook, on X, on Instagram. I'm all over the place. And all of our episodes are available on our Rogers TV YouTube channel. We'll see you next time here on Daytime.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hi, I'm Meg from Fit Over 50. I'd love you to join me for the next episode where I lead you through some exercises and stretches for your hips and your knees. This workout is ideal for people who've had hip or knee replacements, or if you have any hip or knee pain, you'll really benefit. We're going to be doing some standing and also some seated exercises that will be really gentle for the hips and knees. Hope to see you then.
Join us Monday to Friday on Daytime Ottawa as we showcase some of the fabulous things that are happening in your city.